The glass slipper shattered before it even reached the ballroom. That night, two girls stood at the edge of everything they'd ever dreamed of. One with a golden heart, the other with a razor-sharp plan. And when the lights dimmed and the music played, it wasn't Cinderella who danced with the prince. It was her best friend. Lena never meant to steal anyone's life. But when the dress fit, the limo door opened and the cameras flashed, she didn't say no. Meanwhile, the real heroine, the girl who swept floors, healed hearts, and never asked for anything in return, was left watching from the shadows. Because in this version of the fairy tale, the wrong girl got everything, and now she's the CEO's wife. But at what cost? This story is about betrayal disguised as love, about ambition wearing a glass heel, and about the real price of pretending to be someone you're not. You'll follow a loyal friend betrayed, a quiet heroine erased from her own story, a glamorous rise to power built on silence, and the unraveling of a lie too big to bury. Pay close attention. There's a brief quiz at the end asking, how many times is Noah Whitmore's name mentioned in this story? It's just for fun. Get it right within 7 days for a chance at our shout-out post. Watching late? Answer anyway. We might still surprise you. Drop a comment, hit like, subscribe now, and turn on the bell for more emotionally powerful stories like this one. Let's get into it. Lena stood in front of the mirror, her reflection draped in silk and shimmering like a magazine cover. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this penthouse suite, not in this dress. Not about to marry America's youngest self-made billionaire. Down the hall, the string quartet warmed up. Outside, traffic buzzed like it always did in Manhattan. Relentless, alive, pretending not to notice the secrets held behind tinted windows and gold-plated doormen. But Lena remembered everything. She remembered the attic room where she and Clara used to share cold tea and bigger dreams. She remembered the day Clara first got invited to the annual Whitmore Gala, the most exclusive charity ball in the city. It was meant to be Clara's shot. Her night, her turn to be seen. But then Clara got sick, a fever so high she couldn't get out of bed. And Lena, being Clara's only real friend in the world, offered to go to the gala, not for herself, but just to return the dress and decline the invitation politely in person. That was the plan. Until the assistant mistook her for Clara. Until the limo arrived with her name. Until Noah Whitmore looked at her and didn't look away. She told herself she would explain. She told herself she would walk in, turn around, and leave. But one dance turned into a conversation. Then a private tour of the rooftop garden. Then champagne under stars. Lena never imagined she'd get to see this close. And by the time she got back to the tiny apartment she and Clara shared, the night was already too big to undo. Lena tiptoed through the front door just after 2 a.m., the hem of Clara's gown dragging slightly, wrinkled now from hours of movement. The apartment was dark, save for the dull blue glow of the TV, casting a flickering light across the peeling wallpaper. Clara sat up on the couch, wrapped in blankets, her face pale and her lips dry. She said nothing at first, just stared at the dress, and then she smiled. "You kept my spot warm," she said softly. Lena's stomach twisted. "I was just going to return it. I didn't even plan to stay." Clara nodded. "It's fine. I mean, who else was going to wear it?" They never spoke of it again, not in detail. Not the way they should have. But Lena remembered that first shift in the air between them. A silence that lingered longer than usual. A look that stayed just a little too long. Still, weeks passed. Noah Whitmore kept calling. He believed her name was Clara. He sent flowers to their doorstep, invitations to quiet lunches, private galleries, foundation meetings. Lena meant to correct him. Meant to say, "I'm not who you think I am." But the lie was already growing roots. And every time she opened her mouth, the truth got heavier. Lena hadn't expected to fall in love. She wasn't after his money or his empire. But Noah wasn't like the others. He listened. He remembered small things. The way she stirred her coffee, how she hummed when nervous, the fact that she used to dream of opening a literacy nonprofit. And he gave her space to breathe. With him, she felt seen. The problem was, he wasn't seeing her. He was seeing Clara. Or the version of Clara Lena had stepped into that night. One Saturday morning, Clara sat at the window watering her struggling succulents. She didn't turn around when Lena walked in. Just said, "He called again. Your phone was off." Lena froze. "I'm going to tell him," she whispered. Clara chuckled, a dry, brittle sound. Sure you are, right after the engagement. Lena's heart dropped. What? Clara finally looked at her. You think I don't know what's happening? You think I don't see the ring-shaped shadow on your nightstand? He thinks you're me, and now he's going to marry you. I never wanted this. No, Clara said quietly. You just never stopped it. By the time the engagement made headlines, the lie was gospel. The New York Times called her the mysterious philanthropist who won the Whitmore heir. Lena stood beside Noah in diamond earrings and practiced smiles, her hand in his as reporters shouted questions she pretended to be too shy to answer. And Clara? Clara disappeared. 3 months before the wedding, Lena got a letter. Folded neatly into an unmarked envelope, left on her desk at the Whitmore Foundation office. Just 4 words. I want my life. Lena sat frozen, the note shaking slightly in her hand. She hadn't heard from Clara in months, thought maybe she'd moved on. Started fresh, found a way to live without the weight of a fairy tale that had gone sideways. But she was wrong. And suddenly, the walls of Lena's new world, so shiny, so carefully built, started to crack. She found Clara living in a tiny room above a used bookstore in Brooklyn. She looked thinner, quieter. But her eyes were the same, sharp, knowing. You're happy, Clara said, aren't you? Lena opened her mouth, then closed it. Because how do you say yes when the price was someone else's silence? I didn't plan for it to go this far, Lena whispered. But it did. I'll walk away, if you want. Clara shook her head. No, I don't want the lie. I want the truth. They sat together for hours that day. No shouting, no revenge. Just 2 girls who used to share dreams and a twin bed, now sitting in the ruins of what could have been. And for the first time in months, Lena cried. Not for what she'd done, but for what she'd become. The next morning, Lena didn't go to the Whitmore offices. She went to Noah. She handed him the note. She told him everything. Every word, every detail. And then she waited. Noah didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, So your name is Lena? Yes, and the girl you said you were, she's the real Clara, the one I told you I was. He nodded slowly. Then he asked the one question she hadn't prepared for. Did you love me as her, or as yourself? Lena felt her heart thud against her ribs. I didn't know how to love you as myself, she said, voice trembling. At first, I was terrified that if you knew the truth, you'd disappear. Then I was terrified that I'd disappear. That if I stepped out of Clara's shadow, you wouldn't see me at all. Noah sat back, his jaw tight, eyes unreadable. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 minutes. She took a deep breath. But I love you. Not as Clara. Not as some version of me you thought you knew. I love you in my own name, even if that name doesn't belong on your invitations. The silence between them was unbearable. Lena felt it digging into her skin, into her past, into every night she had stood in someone else's shoes and hoped the lights would never come on. Finally, Noah spoke. I need time, he said quietly. Lena nodded, tears streaming down her face. I understand. Days passed without a call. No reporters, no cameras, just the echo of her own conscience ringing louder than any scandal ever could. Lena returned to Brooklyn. She stayed with Clara. They didn't talk much, not at first, but there was comfort in the shared quiet, in the old floorboards, in the bookstore's slow rhythm. One night, Lena asked, if you could go back, would you still invite me into your world? Clara thought for a moment, then shrugged. I don't know, but I'd have made you swear not to wear the shoes. They laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. Then, one Friday morning, just as the sun peeked over the skyline, a town car pulled up outside the bookstore. Noah stepped out, no press, no entourage, just him, in jeans and a jacket, holding a small square box. Clara answered the door. She said nothing, just nodded and pointed upstairs. Lena was curled up by the window, her hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug. When she saw him, she stood too fast, nearly spilling it. I didn't know if I should come, he said. She blinked. You did. I had a lot to process. The lies, the truth behind them, the reasons. I won't pretend I'm not hurt. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not offering it yet, he said. But I'm here because, when I thought it was Clara, what I really loved was the person who listened, who didn't try to impress me, who remembered my mom's favorite flower and folded her napkin into tiny birds at dinner. He stepped closer. I think that was always Lena. He handed her the box. Inside wasn't a ring. It was a key. To a brownstone we just donated to the Literacy for Life initiative, he said. Your name is on the plaque. Not Clara's. She gasped, covering her mouth. I think we should start over, he said softly. No fairy tales, no glass slippers, just you and me, from scratch. Lena nodded slowly. That sounds terrifying. He smiled. Good. The truth usually is. Months passed. The tabloids lost interest. The Whitmore Foundation launched a new reading program for underserved kids. Lena became its public face, not because she married into it, but because she built it. Clara? She started her own nonprofit, working with former foster youth aging out of the system. They weren't the same as before, but maybe that was okay. Their friendship had cracked, yes, but in the spaces between, something more honest was growing. At the grand opening of the new community center, reporters gathered, cameras ready. One leaned in and asked Lena, "Do you believe in fairy tales?" She smiled. "No," she said, "I believe in second chances." The reporter smiled politely and scribbled something in her notebook, but Lena could tell she wasn't really listening. That line would become a pull quote, a caption beneath her photo in next Sunday's lifestyle spread. A reformed imposter, a charitable bride-to-be. The media had turned her confession into redemption, but they had only scratched the surface. The truth, Lena thought, wasn't just about second chances. It was about who got to ask for them and who had to live without ever being offered one. After the ceremony, as the crowd thinned out and children ran through the newly painted halls of the community center, Clara appeared, unannounced, quiet, hands shoved in the pockets of a worn gray coat. Lena noticed her immediately. She always did. Their eyes met across the courtyard, and for a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Lena stepped forward. "I didn't expect you here," she said gently. Clara tilted her head. "I helped design the youth reading room. Thought I'd see how it turned out." Lena tried to smile, but her mouth wouldn't cooperate. "It's beautiful. They loved it." Clara nodded once. "Good." She looked around, her expression unreadable. "Funny," she murmured. "How a lie can build something real." Lena winced. "Clara, that's not fair." Clara's eyes snapped to hers. "Isn't it?" Lena fell silent. They walked together in silence down the corridor, past bright posters and new wooden bookshelves that still smelled of fresh varnish. The air buzzed with soft laughter and footsteps. But between them, the air was thick, brittle and unresolved. Clara finally broke it. "Do you think it would have been different if you told him the truth from the start?" "I've asked myself that every day." Clara stopped walking. "And?" Lena turned to face her. "And I don't know. Maybe he would have walked away, maybe he would have stayed, but at least I would have known he loved me. Not the story." Clara crossed her arms. "You still don't know that." Those words landed harder than they should have. Not because they were harsh, but because they were true. Later that evening, after the final guests had gone and the lights dimmed in the building, Lena stood alone in her office, staring at a framed photo of the groundbreaking ceremony. She looked polished in the picture, hair curled just right, smile relaxed, Noah's arm lightly around her waist, but something about it felt staged now. As though she were still playing a role, the door opened behind her. She turned, expecting Noah. It was Clara. Again. "I left something," she said simply, though her eyes betrayed deeper motives. She crossed the room without asking and pulled open a drawer Lena hadn't even realized Clara once used. From the very back, Clara took out a small leather notebook, one Lena hadn't seen in years. It was the journal they'd started together when they first moved to the city. They had scribbled inside it like schoolgirls. Goals, dreams, a manifesto they once called it. "I thought this was gone," Lena whispered. Clara flipped it open and read aloud from one of the earliest pages. "We promised to never let money, men, or ambition turn us into strangers." She paused. "Do you remember writing that?" Lena didn't respond. "You know what I realized?" Clara continued. "You didn't break the promise. Not exactly. You just rewrote the terms. You convinced yourself that if you did enough good afterward, the lie would pay for itself." Lena's throat tightened. "I never meant to hurt you. But you did." Clara's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The hurt sat in her eyes like something ancient, old and settled. "Do you ever wonder," she asked, "what would have happened if I'd gone to the gala that night? If I hadn't gotten sick?" "I wonder every single day," Lena said. There it was, out loud, finally. For a moment, Clara softened. She looked away, exhaling slowly. Then, Noah asked to meet with me. Lena froze. When? Last week. Why didn't you tell me? Clara's smile was faint. Because I wanted to see what you'd say when I did. A beat passed, then another. What did he want? Lena asked. To understand who you were before all this, Clara said quietly. He asked about your childhood, your dreams, the person you were when you didn't think anyone was watching. And what did you tell him? Clara met her gaze squarely. I told him the truth, that you were loyal, that you gave more than you had, that you stayed up late helping me rehearse interviews you never got, that once, when we only had one clean dress between us, you let me wear it, even though you had the interview and I didn't. Lena blinked, caught off guard. And I told him, Clara added, her voice tight, that even if you lied, you did it because part of you honestly believed you didn't deserve good things unless you stole them. Lena felt like someone had punched the air from her chest. She sat down slowly, the desk chair creaking under her. I didn't think he'd go to you, she whispered. Clara shrugged. Neither did I. But I think he wanted to see if I'd ask for him back. Lena's eyes widened. Did you? Clara took a long pause. No, but I didn't tell him to stay with you either. Why? Because that's not my choice anymore. That night, Lena sat in her apartment, lights off, journal open on her lap. She flipped to the last page Clara had written in, dated 2 years ago. It said, I don't think we'll make it. Not both of us. One of us will become the story. The other will become a footnote. Lena stared at the words until they blurred. She hadn't just taken Clara's place. She'd taken her future. And now, even though she had the man, the press, the buildings bearing her name, she had no idea who she was when the lights went out. The next morning, Noah came to her door. He didn't speak at first, just held up the journal she didn't even know he had. I read it, he said. She felt her face pale. How? Clara gave it to me, or maybe she meant for me to give it to you. I'm still not sure. Lena stepped aside, letting him in. He stood by the window, the sunlight cutting sharp lines across his cheekbones. She said something to me, Noah said. Something I can't stop thinking about. Lena waited. She said you only lied because deep down you believed your real self would never be enough. He looked at her, and for the first time, she didn't see anger. She saw sadness. I think you believed that long before we met, he added. Lena felt something collapse in her chest. I don't know how to be anything but the version you loved, she whispered. Then don't be her, Noah said. Be the version you kept hiding, the one who gave without asking, who loved without expecting to be loved back. Silence. Then, slowly, Noah placed the journal on her counter and turned toward the door. You don't have to earn your place in someone's life, Lena, he said, hand on the knob. You just have to show up as yourself. The door clicked shut behind him. Lena stood alone in the apartment, wind brushing the window panes. She picked up the journal again, flipping through pages filled with crossed-out dreams, shared jokes, and promises long abandoned. And then, tucked between 2 pages near the center, she found something she didn't recognize. A photo. Of her and Clara. Years ago, back when everything still felt possible. They were sitting on their tiny fire escape, eating ice cream from the same cup, laughing, sun in their hair. Neither of them knew what was coming. Neither of them knew who they'd have to become to survive. Lena pressed the photo to her chest, eyes closing. She had told the world she believed in second chances. But maybe what she needed was a first one. One she never gave herself. Sometimes, the people who shine the brightest aren't the ones in the spotlight, but the ones who stepped aside so someone else could be seen. In this story, love was tangled in lies, friendship tested by fate, and identity reshaped by a single night. But in the end, what mattered wasn't the ball gown, the headlines, or the CEO title. It was the courage to walk back into the truth. Because the real fairy tales, they don't end with a kiss. They begin with honesty. If this story moved you, comment below what moment hit you the hardest and answer the quiz at the end. Get it right within 7 days for a chance at our shout-out post. Watching late? Answer anyway, we might still surprise you. And if you love this kind of emotional story, the next one is already waiting for you. Click the video that will show on your screen soon. We'll meet you there. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss what happens next. Quiz: how many times is Noah Whitmore's name mentioned in this story?